Check 1, 2, 3. 3, 2, 1. Check mic. What it do, what it don't, what's happening? This is your coast, coming from the West Coast with the most inspirational, most deep diving conversations on the net. I'm KingdomX, and this is once again breaking the chains. How y'all doing? How you feeling? And we in the building, as you can tell, coming over a little bug of some sorts, and it's kind of sweeping the nation right now, making us as people to prioritize health, right? So what are we doing to stay health conscious, to stay health prepared in these seasons? We talk about health care. Well, this is the first form of health care. You know, before you try to remedy or, come back and correct an illness or, something that's fatal, let's prevent it. Let's get to prevention. So definitely want to hype that up before we get into this conversation. So making sure that folks are taking their herbs. Some great herbs to take right now is mullein. You can have it in tea form or you can have it in powder form. Very good. It's good for sucking out the mucus. So if you got coughs or just mucus back up, we'll be able to suck all that out for you. Also, people like elderberry right now. Elderberry is a good one for your immune system. Sea moss through all seasons is good. You can have it in the raw form, the capsule form, or the powder form, right? So these are some good herbs. If you don't know where to get them at, reach out to us at Good Juju Good Vibes, and we'll plug you, DM us on IG. Once again, got the drip as well. I don't have my Stay Trippin' drip on right now, but you can check out the gear that we wear on here from staytrippin.com, and also Stay Trippin' on IG to get the hoodies and the beanies and swag. And if you like the crystals and the jewels, that's Good Juju Good Vibes IG. So enough of the commercialism, right? But it's really cooperation for us. It's not really commercial, about building with one another, circulating our dollars. And we're talking about this before we got jumped on, and I want to at least touch on this point before we move on, is that we're coming into a season of change. We're coming up into springtime, where there's actually scientifically, naturally, there's more daylight, right? We have more sun time. So thinking about that and taking advantage of that, when I think about my ancestors used to work from can't see in the morning to can't see at night, sun up to sun down. And what's the advantage of having extra sunlight? There's more time to till the land. There's more time to go over, the crop and make sure that it's ready and prepared in harvest time. So how are we preparing in this season? How are we prioritizing and spending more time on our projects and our goals and aspirations and working on ourselves? So please prioritize that in the season that we're coming up to right now, in the next week or two. So today's topic, we're going to be getting into something, divisive by nature, but hopefully we can bring some unity to this conversation right now. And it's assimilation or isolation. And we're going to be taking two different perspectives. We're going to be taking a civilized perspective, and then we're also going to be looking at it from institutionalized perspective. One of my good friends, my brother Toot, is calling in today, and he's been locked up for about almost 20 years. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to have the civilized perspective of the difference, the benefits, the challenges and advantages of the two, assimilation or isolation. And then we're going to look at it from an institutionalized perspective. What has helped him navigate, and then also ask him, what is he going to carry as he comes back into civilization? When we think about COVID, when we think about the new cultural revolution that is technology, there's been a push to have us separate and to isolate. My analysis of that is why we have so much depression, why suicides is at an all-time high, why folks just have a hard time getting together and staying together, because the culture is really pushed to be isolated. Right, so I have understanding that is actually unnatural. As human beings, being humane and being, means doing that in relationship to one another, to other human beings, to the elements. So removing that or maybe handicapping that or, trying to reform what it is to be humane and being on this planet, it's not without its setbacks. So if we're trying to reshape something that has worked since the beginning of mankind, civilization, community, working in unison with one another, and we want to kind of change that, isolate that, who knows what it's going to be. I definitely want to bring it up, in this conversation. So while we wait on him to call in, I'll get on the civilized aspect. Assimilation or isolation. When I think about personally, assimilating into a culture, assimilating into society, assimilating into, a class, there's benefits, right? When you think about assimilation, you think, coming from your point of reference of individualism and joining a collective experience. There has been established rules, principles. There's also a long history and line of affiliates and alumni that have built this network that you instantly have access to and you're instantly plugged into. So assimilating is very beneficial because you don't have to start in your lifetime. You can actually reap the benefits of multiple lifetimes through assimilation, right? So there's benefits in that. So you're not just jumping off the boat with no life vest on, and learning to swim. You have a support system. You have the life vest. You have a lifeguard, you have a swim coach, right? And then you have a tried and true tested area to practice. This is what assimilation feels like, where isolation, going into something new, can be like jumping into the ocean, not knowing how to swim. There's no lifeguards and no protection, which I actually did this past year and almost died. But there was some strength in that, right? So perfect analogy, a perfect, reflection is when that happened, instantaneously, I assimilated through desperation, but not in perceived sense. It was an internal assimilation. I instantly tapped into previous lifetimes and something instructed me on how to swim. The story is I'm floating in we were in Tanzania and I was in Zanzibar, beautiful waters. And, I don't know how to swim, but I'm 6'4", and I was enjoying myself. I just was like, okay, let me just try to relax. I just had some mushrooms, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just trying to tap in and see what the universe is trying to teach me. And I just noticed, like, I'm walking, I'm just trying to float, because I'm working on floating. Like, I'm trying to learn how to swim, right? I'm trying to work on floating, and I'm walking back, and I'm just trying to, like, breathe in deep and just relaxing. And I noticed I got to this deep part. Like, it was cool until I got to, like, this deep part, and I felt my toes, like, I'm on my toes now, and I'm trying to grip myself, but the current is pulling me back. And it got to the point where it's like a drop, and I felt nothing no more, and my head started to go down, and I can see people on the beach side, and instantaneously I had a thought of just giving up. Like, instantaneously, like, it was a feeling more like, it was a feeling of more like, it's over, let go. Like, I'm not finna, but it's like, it's crazy. You know how they say your life flashes before your eyes, before you die, and it's like a lifetime. It was like a long conversation, but it happened so fast. And I was having that, give up, let go, it's over, you're gonna die second, because my water is going down and I can't swim. And then my mind, something clicked and said, hell no. And I instead of like fighting what I was, I went down and I just felt my body like, you know what I'm saying? I started going down. At first I was trying to get to the bottom of the ocean so I can try to walk my way back. On my first instant, I said, oh, that's stupid. Now, it was like an instant back and forth, and I was like talking to a version of myself that knew how to swim. Like, this is the internal assimilation, right? So even though I'm out there by myself, no lifeguard, no protective gear, about to die, I still had support, but I had to let go and tap into that and humble myself because I had no other option. So I instantaneously remembered how to swim, and I started flowing, and I swam back, and I don't know how to swim. So in that instance, I had an internal assimilation, right? And then when, that is divine, right? So we have one aspect when we're talking about on the surface, assimilation, isolation, what it can look like, what it feel like. Then there's an internal reference as well, which I believe is more rich, because we're all here, really believe it or not. It's been scientifically, religiously, and mentally uncovered that for many of us, the concept of reincarnation or past lives is dear. So, and even just being here, if you just look at your parents as an example of your last lives, that's reference enough, right? So you can see that and tapping into that energy or that bloodline, that actual crystallized blood, tapping into that. Now I'm going high and scientific right now, spiritual right now. Hold on for a second. We're gonna get back to the basics. You'll be able to, if you understand water holds information and memory, and you look at your blood as like a form of water, you can tap into, the thoughts of your parents or the thoughts of your past lives and actually use that information when you need it, right? And it's just like if you think about Neo in the Matrix, when he was able to tap into, the line and get updated and learn like all that. That's really like your conscious. We call that your Akashic records, right? It's a record book that you keep, in your DNA, that you can recall information from your past life, like things you've mastered before, or your parents. And let me just break it to a simple level: your parents, grandparents, great-grandparents mastered. I'll put time into. You can tap into that, right? So, using that as a reference, like whether you're internal or external, assimilation is the key. But let's play with isolation, since folks want to be ISO right now. People want to be antisocial. People, it's cool to hate right now. And, personally, I think that if you have the intention to be isolated, for one, it shows that you're dealing with some form of trauma, right? Some level of insecurity that you don't trust others, or you don't want others to come support or help you with. And, if you don't get any help, traditionally, those thoughts and energies consume you. So that's why you see a lot of people say they don't care. They kind of let go. A lot of folks on drugs and other things, they look like they just giving up, right? But they call it the walking dead, right? So that's what isolation does. When you in that box, when they put you in that box or they cremate, I haven't seen two people buried, before. My two nephews, God rest their soul, Nada and SMP, they died 3 days apart. And we had one funeral, but they still went into different caskets. They didn't go into one casket, right? And they were close. They were like them, their brothers, right? Their cousins. So you go in a box by yourself, so don't put yourself in the box so soon. That's what you're going. They say that I'm born by myself, I'm gonna die by myself. But your birth and your death are small points. They are big points that's highlighted on your tombstone, right? But they are a fraction to that space in between. And you see there's no dates or time on that space in between because it's infinite. It's infinite, right? And it really shouldn't be a space. It should be a symbol of like an 8. You know what I'm saying? If we were going to use a symbol for that space, or a wave to be better, I would say a wave, right? To be more accurate, I would say. So, how are you assimilating? And once again, I believe, some tips to assimilate. Find your tribe, find your vibe. You might not want to be with everyone, what everyone thinks. You might not want to be positive. There's some folks that you can be negative in community. There's a community of folks that just want to be negative. I still say find community, because there's power in community. There's still love, even though you're doing something. So I'm a strong proponent of family, and I'm a strong understander that on a universal level, there's no right or wrong. There's just, internal and external judgments, and there's prices you have to pay. So if folks want to be on some negativity, but you're in community, I'd rather have you be in community and be isolated, right? But, if you would want to come and be more positive, I say still find people that you have a mutual respect for, or you have a similar infinity for the same thing, right? So that's on a civilized level and a spiritual level we just touched on. And it seems like, brother, too, that's one thing, being locked up won't let me Akon. It's you don't have the authority of your time, so you're supposed to call me back. He didn't call back, so hopefully next time I'll be able to get him on so we can get the other side of this conversation. So yeah, this was just my version. We're gonna have a part 2, and then hopefully I want to bring some other people on. I would love to bring some other people on. Assimilation versus isolation in this time is gonna be a great conversation. So this is part 1. Once again, to recap, have an external assimilation or internal assimilation is my point of view. But if you do choose to be isolated, please do it in community. Be safe. If you feel like you want to harm yourself, please call. I don't know. I believe it's 211. Just look it up on Google. The suicide line. If you feel like you're being harmed, most churches offer services. If you feel like you're going to harm yourself or do harm to others, please just seek counsel. Sometimes it's not that deep. You know what I'm saying? It can be a conversation, or a kind act that can change those emotions. Last point before we get out of here, learn how to manage your emotions or they will rule you. Right? Our emotions are so divine and powerful. If you don't learn how to manage them, they will eat you alive. So please seek help. Once again, I offer consultation, so if you do need some support, tap in Good Juju, Good Vibes. We'll be able to get you a crystal reading, kind of see what's going on with you energetically. And also I do a lot of counseling, business development, and one-on-one coaching, so I'll be able to support you in that as well. So once again, this is a great conversation. One a little bit longer, wanted to try to make space for Brother Toot to hop on, but we'll get him on the next conversation, man. Once again, we love you. Tremendous love, and it's not just this Valentine's Day love, but I really want you to live life, because I'm living life to its fullest, and I want to see you at the top. This conversation, man, we hope that it helps somebody. Pray it helps everybody, but for sure, it helped me. We're about to here. See you at the next episode of Breaking the Chains. We out of here. Peace.